have an appointment.
Your name, please, sir?
Picard, P-I-C-A-R-D.
It's nice to see you up and around again.
Patrick, I'm sure you have so many memories, but what is your favorite memory playing Picard?
Maybe it was my first time on camera. It was a scene in which I had no dialogue, where I encountered Jonathan Frakes coming out of a what do they call turbo lift or something. Yeah, I've forgotten.
Elevator.
Yes.
Elevator.
A lift. And he had to give me some bad news, and I had to react to it. No dialogue, and I was very, very nervous. I'd never been in a world like this before, and I'd never worked in Hollywood before. And so we did this first take, and the director called cut, and Jonathan Frakes said, "Well, I suppose that's what they call English face acting," he said. Actually, he might have said British face acting.
Oh my God.
And,
what a salty
and I
man.
didn't know how to take that at all, because I didn't really know these people. But of course, I discovered that he is one of the funniest and most delightful people you could work with.
That's an amazing first memory. And obviously, Picard's story is still unfolding. But what do you hope the legacy of Picard will be?
The eventual legacy? One of hope, one of determination, and one of an absolute determination not to give in, but to keep going, to make things better.
I love that. It's beautiful. Isa, Daj is such a badass. What was it like stepping into the world of Star Trek?
Very, very exciting. Definitely, I think getting to do a role like this is kind of the dream of a lifetime, because, as you said, she's got her badass moments, which I love, but she's also got so much heart, so much empathy, and just a really beautiful story of, figuring out who she is. And I think getting to do that as one of my first TV roles ever is just, I'm still pinching myself that I get to do that and work with Patrick.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And breathe the same air as you.
Patrick,
reversely.
that breath.
Yeah. What was it like returning to the world of Star Trek?
It was very, very easy, because long before Next Generation finished, the space between Patrick Stewart and Jean-Luc Picard had got smaller and smaller and smaller, until finally we just overlapped. And I felt he was inside me, and there was some of me inside him as well. I think that the writers were reacting to what they knew about me, and they would put it into the character. And in our new series, 20 years have passed since Nemesis, but they've passed for me too. So I'm changed by those years. So that sense of change, I was all set up to bring into the work that we're doing.
Right, you've lived it.
Yeah, in a sense, we've all lived it. She was only just born when
It's so funny.
I suppose you experienced something of it, didn't you?
I experienced something in my 21 years. I wasn't just sitting there waiting for this.
You weren't? That's amazing.
One day.
What the hell are you doing out here, Picard? Saving the galaxy?
Jeri, I feel like fans went crazy when they learned that Seven was returning to Picard. So how does it feel to know that you're so beloved?
That's so sweet. I mean, we were talking about that earlier. It's such a gift to be able to have a character that people are interested in seeing 20 years later. I mean, that's such an unusual thing as an actor, and it's such a just real joy and honor. And I mean, the fans are amazing.
Yeah.
None of us would be here without the fans. So.
What is your favorite memory playing Seven?
Wow.
This time round or the first time?
Yeah, really. Which one?
Just
in general?
Yeah.
Boy, you know what? It's not one specific memory because it's happened over and over, but it's when fans approach you that they felt a personal connection to the character and she helped them in some way. So I hear a lot from people on the autism spectrum that they related to Seven. We both, I think, hear from a lot of the LGBT community and trans community that they were able to relate to the feeling of being an outsider that both of our characters, I think, felt. And that's great. When you do something that goes beyond just entertaining people, but they can actually relate to it and it helps them in some way, that's amazing.
Totally. Jonathan, what's your favorite memory playing Hugh?
Actually, it's one that's more recent, which was when I finally had a moment to reunite with Patrick, with Picard. And I've talked a little bit about how playing him this time around has been much more personal and how I've used much more of my own life. And my father's been gone now for about 20 years. And so it was such a gift to get to see Patrick, to get to see Picard as Hugh. He was a paternal figure to him. So I got to I almost felt like I was visiting my dad, seeing him again, right? And like what a gift that was in the imagination of an actor to say, it's Dad, you're seeing your dad again. You know, that's heavy and beautiful, right? So that was a goosebump moment for me shooting this. But I'll echo what Jeri said. You know, sometimes it's really simple things about playing the part, like getting a text from a person who watched the show when they were a kid and they were gay and they were afraid to come out. And this guy wrote me this long text about how scared he was and how he felt isolated from his family like Hugh, and how because Hugh had the courage to move on, that he then had the courage to move on. And you underestimate how important the arts are to people, because they're a medium to like get our own feelings out, you know, and our own experiences. So it's those personal stories. That fact that the show can still affect people's lives is kind of amazing.
Yeah, and to see ourselves, it must be so rewarding.
Representation is
so important
for people.
What was it like for you guys to re-enter the world of Star Trek?
So surreal. So strange. Because it truly is something I never, ever, ever expected to be doing again. And we actually both, because we're friends outside of this, so our experience with being approached to come back to this was a little different than anybody else's, because we were at the Hollywood Bowl drinking champagne with a friend of ours who was one of the initial creators of the show. And he said, okay, so here's what I'm thinking. I want to bring Seven and Hugh back. And we just kind of drank our champagne and laughed and thought it was hilarious. And he said, no, I'm serious. And here's what I'm thinking. It's going to be really cool. She's going to be really different. She's been back on Earth for a long time. And it's, it's here, here, here. And he gave me some rough story ideas, which sounded really cool. But I think we both just laughed it off and thought he was just, drinking champagne and saying crazy things. And then he kept bringing it up every time we would see him. And then I was at the Creative Arts Emmys a year ago. They were presenting Star Trek with an award. And I was lined up on backstage getting ready to go on behind Alex Kurtzman. And he said, oh, so, we've been talking a lot about Seven in the writer's room. It's like, what? Oh, it's actually happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's very surreal. Putting the eyepiece back on for the first time was very strange, but fun.
As the kids these days say, it was extra, because it was extra everything. It was like bigger sets, bigger everything was
it's true.
Everything was just like on steroids. So you almost feel like you're walking into a fan dream. You're like, this is real. I don't have to imagine I'm in a Borg cube. I'm on a Borg cube.
The scale of all of this is crazy.
Yeah.
These sets are insanely
They're
amazing.
massive, and you just
costumes,
get lost in them in a good way.
Everything is amazing.
Yeah, it really helped the performance for my part of it.
Hello, Will.
Jean-Luc.
What is your favorite memory playing Troy?
Laughing. We laughed for 7 years, and for 178 episodes and 4 movies, we laughed. I don't think we'll ever have that experience again on any show. I mean, I've done a lot of shows since, and I've never had an experience like the one on TNG where all 7 of us hit it off on day one. Wow. I remember thinking we're all going to get fired because we're having too much fun and we're laughing too much and we're holding up filming and we're all fired. But it was a joy to go to work every day, despite the fact that we were working 16-hour days generally.
Wow.
And doing 26 episodes a season, which never happens anymore. No one does 26 episodes.
Right. So what was it like stepping back into the world of Star Trek then?
Well, I did insist that I wasn't wearing a spacesuit, because that was 15 pounds ago. And I'm not doing that. Not losing 15 pounds at my age. I will look like a skeleton or something the cat dragged in. So fortunately, I'm not in a spacesuit, so that's kind of a clue as to what I'm doing. But I was excited to work with Patrick, and I was excited to work with Jonathan again. Playing Troy again, I played her for 15 years on and off. You know, she's not a challenge anymore, and as an actor, you want a challenge, you know. But what she lacks in challenge, she makes up for in so many other areas. So it's always just, it's brilliant. It's just brilliant.
What was that first moment like back with Patrick Stewart, working with him?
He's like, oh, darling, it's so lovely to be with you again. And I was in tears, actually, I think, when we first started, because I never thought it would happen. I never thought I'd get to work with him again. I'd worked with Jonathan as a director. I didn't think I'd ever work with Jonathan again as an actor. So it was emotional, yeah.
Aw, what do you think Star Trek will mean to this next new generation?
The same it meant to all the. I mean, listen, this has been going on in one shape or another for 53 years. You kind of go, catch up with that, Star Wars, right? We'll talk when you're 53 years old, right? I think it's just people expect a certain thing, and if we deliver that thing, they're going to watch.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Besides yourself, were there any other favorite cameos that you can share with us in the show? Or favorite characters that were coming back?
In Picard, well, all I know is it's me, Jonathan, Brent, and the gorgeous Jeri Ryan. Yeah. That's all I know. Because I haven't seen it. I don't know. You've seen an episode, haven't you?
Yes,
Well, you're one up on me because I haven't seen a minute of it.
This is everything that ever mattered to me.
I'm going with you.
I'm curious to know, what was your first Star Trek memory?
I just have visions of me running around slightly blind around my house with a headband over my eyes. So that's about the earliest.
That's an amazing memory.
I was like, I'm Jordy.
Mine's it being on TV. I remember watching an episode of Next Generation, so I do remember Patrick's face, but I wasn't really a religious sort of Star Trek fan, but I definitely have a memory of it being on TV for sure.
So what was it like coming into this world then?
It was super exciting, and then I just did a lot of research. I sort of had to catch up and watched a bunch of episodes, focusing on Next Generation, and just got so into it and just started to ask myself, why was I never a fan of this? Because it's great. It's just, I love the philosophy behind it, and the human nature of it, and I was just like hooked from the get-go.
That's how I felt when I watched the pilot for this. I was like so resentful of my parents for not putting me into this.
Yeah, I did that. I told my
And at the end of the
parents
episode, I was like, am I a Trekkie? This is amazing.
Well, I thought I was a Trekkie because I've watched hours, but it's true. You have to earn that.
Yeah.
That once you meet them, once you realize you are not even close.
100%. You have to earn it.
Yeah.
Same question for you.
Of what? What?
What was it like coming into this world? Sorry.
It was an incredible honor, and also just to join this group of people. I mean, I had obviously been a fan of Patrick's from TNG and everything, and then also theatrically, Shakespeareically, been such a respected figure. And then also I was super thrilled that Michael Chabon was going to be a part of it, because his novels have meant so incredibly much to me, and he's an incredible writer. So the idea that he was going to be taking on something that he loved to this degree, that he and Patrick were kind of going to figure out a new way to take this journey, was really exciting.
There's so many shows and movies. What do you guys think Star Trek is going to mean to this next generation?
No pun intended, or pun intended? I think there's something. What's different about this one is the novelistic approach. I think at least from the Star Trek of old, and I think you really hope for the fans. I think there's going to be that they're gonna. It's loyal to what the world is, but it's new. It's different. And to new fans, I think it's gonna just be something that's just up there with the great shows and the great stories that are being told. Because I think it goes deeper and draws a lot of parallels with today's world. So there's a lot to hold on to and to identify with, I think.
Alison is such a big fan of it growing up. What was it like working with Patrick Stewart?
It was incredible. I mean,
he's such a gifted actor and storyteller, and he's somebody who watching him operate in front of some of these convention floors, I'm just like, how do you even do that? What a gifted performer! It's incredible. Yeah, he's a real amazing guy.
I need your skill and your courage. The past is written, but we are left to write the future.
I'm sure many people have asked you this, but what was it like entering the world of Star Trek?
Surreal, a dream come true.
Yes, a dream come true, a gift.
Just full of excitement. It's like your first day of school.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's sort of like
you've got an idea of what it is,
right, but you don't really know. Yeah. Really exciting and humbling and honoring. You know, I mean, it's just it's so good.
Were you guys fans before?
Yes. I was. I grew up watching the TOS movies and the TNG series with my mum and my sisters. So they were over the moon when I called them and told them I got the role.
Yeah. And I the same thing. I grew up watching them with my family as well.
Nice. What is your first memory of Star Trek?
Search for Spock, the TOS movie.
You're so good and specific.
I know.
My was actually, when I got the job, I sort of had a flashback to the first time of being introduced to Star Trek. And it was basically with my father. I'm biracial. My father's black. He's an actor. And he really was important for him and my mom for us to see ourselves represented on television. And so they really encouraged us to watch shows that would be inclusive. And Star Trek was one of the only shows that was inclusive to all different types of people. They looked different. They, sounded different. Uhura was there. There was the first interracial kiss on television was in Star Trek. My parents were black and white, so that was my first memories of Star Trek. And so when getting this job, you see these two ethnic creatures right here, the fact that we can sort of do that for other children to watch and give themselves a mirror, that they can see themselves represented. And that we're still here in 2400. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have done that, because I have to say, watching you, I feel like seeing women in Star Trek, they're always so put together, but seeing you sort of be like this, fearless, confident, so amazing. What I love about this show is that I feel like a whole new fan base can sort of tune in and just hop on the Star Trek bandwagon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they don't need to know.
Absolutely. Yeah, jump right in. Yeah, this is a movie. This is a 10-hour movie written by amazing writers, novelists, Pulitzer Prize winners, helmed by an incredible actor. I just had the opportunity to go see Patrick in A Christmas Carol in New York. People have seen A Christmas Carol. You know that story. We all know that story. It's an old story. He played 43 characters. The entire audience was transfixed. You're transported. He is an amazing, it's like watching a master artist. So yeah, this is something that everybody can just jump right into and eat up.
So amazing you got to do that, because he only did 2 shows. I'm so mad I missed it.
It's amazing.
What do you guys think Star Trek will mean to this new generation, this next generation?
Hopefully a message of hope, and that there is a better future if we all come together and put aside our differences.
Yeah,
that's what I hope.
I do. I think that our little movie really focuses on humanity, the value of life, of love, of hope, of possibility, of solution. And humanity.
I love that. Are there any characters or cameos that you guys are excited for people to see in this show coming down the line?
Jeri Ryan.
Yes. Also, Jonathan Frakes.
I mean, yeah,
come on.
Frakes, yeah.
Yeah, Jeri, Jonathan,
all
Marina,
of them.
Yeah.
Working with them all has been such a pleasure.
Amazing.
It's like watching the band get back together.
It is. It really is. And watching them play with Patrick.
And their stories
amazing.
and
yes,
everything.
That's the best.
We all have a story, just waiting to be claimed.
I'm curious to know, how did the idea for this series come about?
Well, you were there.
I was there.
Yeah.
We were making some short treks, which are the little teeny, wildly expensive, nobody sees interstitial pieces on CBS All Access.
That's how they refer to it on the balance sheet.
It says it. It's like, oh my God.
Yes.
Star Trek shorts, oh my God. And then dollar signs. So those. And we were having some idea about a short. Was an Uhura short that we were imagining with a young cadet and an overlap. And then we were sort of wondering, could that cadet grow up to be Captain Picard. So could we get him for one shot? And then Michael has a theory about our partner, Alex.
And I think Alex Kurtzman's modus operandi in life is, why stop there? Look, if you give him a little good idea, he says, like, that's a good idea, but it's too little. Like, let's do this, let's do that, we'll get this, we'll get that. And so, he didn't want to just stop. Well, why stop with a shot of Patrick Stewart as Picard? Like, I wonder if he'd be interested in coming back and playing the character. And it turned out he wasn't.
Well, yes, at all. It was wildly public that he was not interested in ever coming back, ever. But we felt that if we went and sat with him, he would come back. And we went and sat with him, and he said no. He said no. Just a lot of no.
And then you guys sent him the 34 pages, and
Michael
here we
wrote
are.
35 pages.
Amazing.
Yeah, and none of which is in the show.
Yeah, none of that.
None of it.
It was a completely different story. But what it shared with what we ended up making was a perspective on the character of Jean-Luc Picard that was serious and mature, and about a man who is at a later stage of his life reckoning with his past and the things that he's done and things he hasn't done, and trying to decide what's next for him, and we were just trying to show Patrick, you can trust us. We get it. We get that you don't want to come back and be on the bridge of the Enterprise and have the crew and all that. You want to do something different, and here's something different. And even though it wasn't the different thing that we ended up making, it was, I guess it was enough to persuade him we meant what we said.
Engage.
I was reading online originally when you guys met with Sir Patrick Stewart that you sent him a 30-page document on what the show is about. So I'm curious to know, how did the idea of this series come about?
We were doing the short treks, actually, and we had the idea, let's do a young Picard short trek, and let's tie it into a couple stories. And as we started building it out, it became very clear that there was way too much story for a short. And not only that, but we want to see Picard come back.
Yeah.
The problem is that Patrick said he was never going to do it again. So I called his agent and I said, I don't know if there's any daylight there, but do you think he'd ever sit down with us? Because by that point, we had really had a lot of ideas. And he was gracious enough to do that. And we pitched him, 45 minutes of story. And here's what we see for the character and the season. And he said, thank you, no. And we were, we thought we gave it our best shot. I got to meet Patrick Stewart. That's a real moment for me. And, great, we tried. And then Monday morning, his agent called and said, he's reconsidering. He's been thinking a lot about what you pitched. Could you put it down? Just write 4 pages. And we ended up writing 34 pages because we just couldn't stop. Wow. And the next time we met him, he had read it and he said, I'm in.
Wow. Well, this show ties in a lot of different movies and shows. So how do you balance looking back at the Star Trek franchise while also telling new stories and, propelling the universe forward?
I think having started with Discovery, anytime you're going to do a new Star Trek, whether it's brand new characters like Discovery, or obviously with this where we have new characters and beloved characters, you have to honor and take what came before you and infuse it with something fresh, something new. And the best sci-fi is always relevant to what's happening in the world around us. So it also had to have a modern purpose. What is it saying without beating someone over the head? So, it's a huge responsibility in the best way to say, this is what is so beloved about Patrick Stewart, about Riker, about Seven of Nine, and why did they belong in this story?
Well, I think you guys nailed it. It's so good. What was it like working with the iconic Patrick Stewart in this iconic role?
Incredible.
Was there a lot of Earl Grey tea on set?
There was some Earl Grey tea. I think what Patrick needed more than anything was to understand that he was working with collaborators, that we weren't just handing him pages and telling him to say it. I think he feels, rightly so, enormous ownership over the character and wanting to protect the character from mistakes. There's so many landmines in doing something like this. And the collaboration was just wonderful. He listens very deeply. He listens carefully. He's very instinctual. Like he said to us early on, I'm never going to be able to write the dialogue for you, but I will be able to tell you when something feels inauthentic to Picard's voice. And that was a wonderful compass for us because it gave us the freedom to try things. And sometimes he surprised himself, and sometimes he surprised us in what he could or didn't think he could do. But it's been an amazing gift to be able to work with him. He's the greatest.
He's also a true
captain with all of the cast. I mean, I'm sure, and I'm sure you're going to be talking with them today. They really all felt like he was the number one on the call sheet in every way. He's such a leader.
He's like the world's captain.
Yes, he is.
I was telling you guys right when I walked in here how excited I am about this show because I feel like, it's a whole new fan base can tune in and sort of hop on the Star Trek bandwagon. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think, this series means or Star Trek means to the new generation?
I hope, and we both have young kids, although sadly they're not that young anymore. We have to stop saying that. But I think you hope that they're going to take the lessons from the show that we all took, which is, can't we all just get along and work towards a better future? And it doesn't really matter what your skin color is or where you're from, but we're all coming from the same place, which is to be morally good and fight for what's right. And I mean, that's my hope for what people take.
I don't think you have to be an old generation fan to believe in hope. I think to be a Star Trek fan, you have to fundamentally believe in hope. You have to fundamentally believe that the best of us will emerge in the future. That was the beating heart of Gene Roddenberry's vision. And it doesn't mean you don't go through dark times. Star Trek has always done that. But you say, he's the leader. Patrick is the leader we need. Picard is the leader we need right now. I think the world is looking around and they're saying, where are our great leaders? Where are those people who used to give us hope and confidence that we will endure? And that is Picard in every possible way. It's even more interesting to put a character like that in a situation where there is so much moral ambiguity because we're living in very complicated times. So we want to believe that a guy like Picard could step up in a moment like this.